So my name is Farzana Islam, and I'm a research engineer in the WVU P2 team here at IMSC Department of WVU. Today, I'll be presenting the part of the workshop on pollution prevention, or P2. And this workshop is designed to help us understand the importance of P2 and how we can effectively implement it in various industries. So, thank you. Right. Okay. Yeah. So first, let's take a moment to acknowledge the reality of the world we live in today. Our environment is burdened with pollution. The air we struggle to breathe, the water that is becoming increasingly scarce, and the land littered with waste. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, even powerless in the face of these challenges. But it is not the end of the story. We have the power to restore and protect environment, and the key to doing so lies in the concept of pollution prevention, or P2. It's a transformative approach that goes beyond merely managing waste. So let's imagine a world where industries operate efficiently, where resources are used responsibly, and where our environmental footprint is minimized, not by dealing with the aftermath, but by preventing with the problem at its source. This approach not only preserves our natural resources, but also drives innovation, reduces cost, and enhances safety. It's a win-win for businesses, communities, and our planet. So in next 1 hour, we will explore how P2, or pollution prevention, can lead us to a more sustainable future, and how each of us, whether we are engineers, policymakers, or concerned citizens, can play a pivotal role in making this vision a reality. So here is an overview of today's session. We will start by introducing the concept of pollution prevention, then we will discuss benefits of P2, followed by an exploration of tools and resources provided by EPA. We will also cover different methods of P2 and the legal frameworks that supports it, and finally, how to build a robust P2 program. Let's start by defining what pollution prevention, or P2, really means. At its core, P2 is any activity that reduces, eliminates, or prevents pollutants or waste at the source before they even have a chance to cause harm. This is crucial because it allows us to address pollution proactively rather than reacting to the consequences after the fact. Now, when we talk about managing waste and pollution, there is a hierarchy of strategies we can employ, ranging from the most preferred to the least. These are prevent, reduce, reuse, recycle, recover, and dispose. First and foremost, prevent. This is the gold standard of pollution prevention. And if we can prevent pollution from happening in the first place, we eliminate the problem before it starts. This approach is the most effective because it tackles the issue at its roots. Next is reduce. When prevention isn't possible, the goal is to minimize the amount of waste or pollution generated. This could mean using less material in production or finding new ways to make processes more efficient. Reuse comes after reduction. If we can't avoid creating waste, the next best option is to find ways to reuse materials, extending their life cycles and keeping them out of the waste stream. Following reuse is recycle. Recycling allows us to transform waste materials into new products. While recycling is better than disposal, it is less ideal than reusing because it typically requires energy and resources to process the waste. Recover is next in line. This involves extracting energy or other sources from waste. While it recovers value from the waste, it still means the material is not being used in its original form, making it less preferable option. And finally, we have dispose. This is the last resort. Disposal should only be considered when all the options have been exhausted, as it means the material is ultimately lost and often ends up in landfills, contributing to environmental degradation. So the goal is to move up this hierarchy as much as possible, focusing on prevention first and only consider disposal as a last resort. In the definition of pollution prevention, a critical phrase stands out: waste at the source. But what exactly do we mean by the waste? Waste can take many forms, whether it's solid waste, hazardous chemical, excess material, or even energy inefficiencies. Essentially, waste is anything that is not used productively in a process or ends up contributing to environmental harm. So this is where P2 plays a pivotal role by focusing on reducing or eliminating this waste at the source before they even enter the waste stream. We not only prevent pollution, but also reduce the overall environmental footprint of our operations. So for the companies, it isn't just an environmental win, it's a cost-effective solution as well. When we prevent waste at the source, we avoid the cost associated with the waste management, disposal, and regulatory compliances. Additionally, reducing material use and energy consumption leads to direct cost saving, making P2 a smart business strategy and as well as an environmental one. Now that we have introduced the concept of waste at the source, let's take a closer look at what we mean by the waste in the context of P2. These acronyms help us remember the key areas where waste can occur, where we should focus our efforts to minimize the impact. So W stands for wastewater. This refers to any water that has been used in industrial processes and is no longer fit for its intended use without treatment. Controlling wastewater at the source reduces the need for extensive treatment and helps prevent pollution of our water bodies. A is for air emissions. These are pollutants released into the atmosphere during various manufacturing processes. Reducing air emissions at the source helps improve air quality and reduces the impact on public health and environment. S represents solid waste. This includes any unwanted solid materials generated during production, such as scrap materials, packaging waste, or byproducts. And managing solid waste efficiently at the source can lead to significant cost savings and a reduction in landfill use. T stands for time. Time is often overlooked as a form of waste, but inefficiencies in production processes can lead to delays and lost opportunities. Optimizing processes to reduce wasted time can increase productivity and profitability. E stands for energy. Energy inefficiencies are a significant source of waste. One just gave a very elaborate presentation on that. And whether it's through excessive use of electricity, heat, or fuel, by addressing energy waste, companies can lower their carbon footprint and reduce operating costs. Finally, S or dollars stands for the financial cost. Waste in any form represents a financial loss. Whether it's the cost of raw materials, energy, or the management of waste, these costs add up. Pollution prevention efforts that focuses on reducing this waste can lead to substantial cost savings. So by breaking down waste into these components, we can better understand where waste occurs in our processes and how we can address it through effective P2 strategies. As we have discussed, source reduction is considered the most effective method in P2. To illustrate this point, I'd like to show you a short video demonstrating the typical recycling procedure. As you can see, recycling is a complex process and it involves collecting the waste, sorting it by type, cleaning it, and then processing it into reusable material. This process requires significant amount of energy, water, and time. Moreover, it's not always successful. Contaminants can disrupt the process, and not all materials are easily recyclable. Even when recycling is successful, it is still an after-the-fact solution. This waste has already been created, and we are now dealing with it after it has entered the waste stream. This is where source reduction stands out. By preventing waste at the source, we eliminate the need for these complex and resource-intensive recycling processes altogether. It allows us to save all the hassle, less waste to deal with, and lower environmental impact and greater cost efficiency. Now, it's important to address a common misconception that often arises when discussing pollution prevention. Many people equate waste management and recycling with pollution prevention, but in reality, they are not the same. Pollution prevention, or P2, is about stopping pollution before it starts. It's proactive, not reactive. It's about reducing or eliminating waste at the source, preventing pollutants from ever entering the waste stream. Waste management and recycling, on the other hand, are reactive strategies. They deal with waste after it has been created. Waste management involves handling and processing of waste materials, while recycling involves converting waste into reusable materials. While these practices are important and certainly beneficial, they do not prevent pollution from occurring. They simply manage the pollution that has already been created. Before we dive into the specific methods of pollution prevention, it's important to understand the concept of NEAs, or National Emphasis Areas. NEAs are specific sectors that the P2 program has prioritized. The idea here is to focus our resources and efforts where they can have the maximum environmental and economic impact. But why these particular sectors? This is where the 80-20 rule, or the Pareto principle, comes into play. The 80-20 rule suggests that roughly 80% of the results come from 20% of the efforts. Applied here, it means that by focusing on these sectors, those that have the most significant opportunities for pollution prevention, we can achieve the majority of our desired environmental and economic outcomes. So these sectors were chosen because they offer substantial potential for both economic benefit, such as cost savings and operational efficiencies, and environmental benefits like reduced emissions and waste generation. By prioritizing these areas, we can enable better resource allocation, ensuring that our efforts are both effective and efficient. And additionally, by focusing on these NEAs, we can more easily share successful strategies among similar projects within these sectors. This leads to a greater overall impact, as lessons learned and best practices can be applied across the board. Now that we understand the importance of focusing on NEAs, let's briefly go over the 6 NEAs that have been prioritized by P2 program. These areas have been selected because they offer significant opportunities for pollution prevention. The first one is food and beverage manufacturing processing. This NEA focuses on reducing toxic air emission, water discharges, and energy usage within the food and beverage manufacturing and processing industries. Next, we have chemical manufacturing, processing, and formulation. This NEA targets businesses associated with NAICS code 325, encouraging them to adopt pollution prevention practices and promote green chemistry, which reduces or eliminates hazardous substances. Next, we have automotive manufacturing and maintenance. Here, the focus is on automotive industry, and the goal is to encourage the adoption of P2 practices in both manufacturing and maintenance of the automobiles and automotive products. Next, we have aerospace products and part manufacturing and maintenance. This NEA targets the aerospace industry and related subsectors. It encourages pollution prevention in all aspects of aerospace product and parts manufacturing and maintenance. Next, we have metal manufacturing and fabrication. For this NEA, primary metal manufacturing and fabricated metal products are the focus, and the aim is to adopt PT practices throughout the various processes involved in this industry. And finally, we have a new NEA, which is supporting pollution prevention in Indian country and for Alaska Native villages. And this NEA focuses on providing P2 technical assistance and projects to businesses in Indian country and Alaska Native villages, helping them identify and implement pollution prevention practices. Now, let's look at some key methods of pollution prevention that we will be focusing on our next few slides. So we will be talking about redesigning products, choosing alternative input materials, switching to other equipments, improving process monitoring, adjusting concentration levels of any chemical being used. So let's start with the redesigning of products. So when we talk about the redesigning products as a method of pollution prevention, we are focusing on ways to fundamentally alter the design of a product to minimize waste and environmental impact. This can be achieved through several strategies. First, consider reducing material use in packaging. For example, in the food and beverage manufacturing processing, NEA, companies can redesign their packaging to use less material, whether that means thinner plastics or more efficient shapes. This not only reduces the amount of waste generated, but also lowers the cost of the material. Next, we have reducing component variety. In industries like automotive, in manufacturing and maintenance, another NEA, standardizing components across different models can reduce the number of different parts that need to be produced and stocked, leading to less waste during manufacturing and easier recycling at the end of the product's life. And finally, integrating modular design is a powerful approach. For instance, in the aerospace product and part manufacturing, companies can design parts that are modular, meaning they can easily be replaced or upgraded without needing to replace the entire product. This reduces waste and allows for more efficient use of materials over the product's life cycle. So next we have is another crucial method for P2 is choosing alternative input materials. This approach focuses on replacing conventional materials with more sustainable or less harmful alternatives to reduce the environmental impact. One example is to use alternative sources of energy to supplement the grid. In the metal manufacturing, say for example, companies can integrate renewable energy sources like solar or wind power into their operations. This reduces their reliance on fossil fuels, lowers their greenhouse gas emission, and can reduce operational costs in the long term. Another example is to use biodegradable materials. In the food and beverage industry, companies can opt for packaging made from biodegradable materials instead of conventional plastics. This not only reduces the waste, but also minimizes the environmental impact when the packaging is eventually discarded. And finally, switching to non-toxic solvents is another powerful strategy, and it can be used in the chemical manufacturing industry, and replacing traditional hazardous solvent with non-toxic alternatives can significantly reduce the release of harmful chemicals into the environment and improve worker safety. Another effective method for pollution prevention is switching to other equipment. This approach involves replacing or upgrading existing equipment with more efficient or environmentally friendly alternatives. So one example is to install energy efficient motors. So in the automotive manufacturing industry, say for example, upgrading the energy efficient motors can significantly reduce electricity consumption and lower greenhouse gas emissions, since motors are highly load-driven equipment. This not only helps the environment, but also cuts down the energy costs for the company. Next, we have another example, which is to use airside economizer in HVAC system. This particularly is relevant to, I would say, any industry and even residential units. But if we talk about one particular industry, that is aerospace product and parts manufacturing, where climate control is crucial for maintaining the quality of the aerospace components. An airside economizer reduces the need for mechanical cooling by using cooler outside air when conditions allow, leading to substantial energy savings. And finally, using low flow water fixtures is a simple yet effective way to reduce water usage. This approach can be applied across various industries, including those covered by food and beverage manufacturing NEA. By reducing water flow, companies can lower their water bills and minimize their impact on local water resources. Improving process monitoring is another key method for pollution prevention, and it involves closely tracking and managing various processes within the facility to reduce waste and improve efficiency. One example is to implement continuous emissions monitoring systems, CEMS, and in chemical manufacturing industry, CEMS can play a crucial role in tracking emissions in real time, allowing companies to quickly identify and address any issues that arise. This helps ensure compliance with environmental regulations and reduces the overall environmental impact. Another example is to adopt predictive maintenance. This particularly can be relevant with all the manufacturing industry. By using the data and the analytics to predict when equipment will need maintenance, companies can prevent unexpected breakdowns, reduce downtime, and avoid the waste associated with emergency repairs. And lastly, regulating compressed air usage, on which one gave a very elaborate and very wonderful presentation on. And this is a simple but effective way to improve efficiency. And in many automotive manufacturing industry, this is heavily used. And for example, compressed air systems are often their major source of energy consumption. So by carefully monitoring, regulating their usage, companies can reduce energy waste and lower operational costs. Another effective method of P2 is adjusting concentration level of chemicals. This involves fine-tuning the amount of chemicals used in various processes to reduce waste and minimize environmental impact. One example is to optimize chemical usage in cleaning processes. In chemical manufacturing industry, reducing the concentration of cleaning chemicals can lead to less chemical waste, lower costs, and reduce risk of harmful chemicals entering the environment. Another example is to adjust the pesticides concentration in agriculture. And this can be applied in the agriculture industry and also relevant to supporting pollution prevention in Indian country and for Alaska Native villages, where optimizing pesticide use can protect local ecosystems and water sources from contamination while still effectively managing pests. And finally, optimizing cooling water treatment is a crucial step in industries like aerospace product or various manufacturing industry. By carefully controlling the concentration of the treatment of the chemicals, companies can maintain the efficiency of their cooling system while minimizing chemical use and reducing the potential for environmental harm. While these methods I just described are key strategies for P2, it's important to remember that P2 is not limited to these approaches. Pollution prevention often requires us to think creatively and explore unconventional solutions. And sometimes the most effective strategies are the ones that aren't immediately obvious. And they might require us to challenge traditional thinking or to consider entirely new ways of doing things. Now I want to demonstrate a concept of thinking outside the box with just a simple yet powerful puzzle. Imagine I ask you to connect all 9 dots here with just 4 straight lines without lifting your pen from the paper. At first, most of us will instinctively try to solve the puzzle by staying within the boundaries of the dots within the box. At least I tried it that way. But as many of you might find that it's impossible to connect all the dots that way. The solution only becomes clear when we allow ourselves to break free from that conventional thinking when we realize that nothing is stopping us from drawing lines outside the perceived box. This is what we mean by thinking outside the box. In pollution prevention, the most impactful solutions often require this kind of creative thinking, and it is about pushing boundaries, challenging assumptions, and finding innovative ways to reduce waste and minimize environmental impact. Now, let me share with you a fascinating example of out-of-the-box thinking that truly embodies the spirit of P2. In 2009, Google hired a team of 200 goats to mow their lawns at their Mountain View headquarters. Instead of using a traditional lawnmower that emits pollution, Google decided to bring in these goats to graze and naturally trim the grass. Not only did this solution reduce emission, but it also saved on fuels and maintenance costs associated with the traditional lawn care equipment. Additionally, it provided natural fertilizer for the grounds and contributed to a healthier ecosystem. Now, let's talk about who gets benefited from this pollution prevention. So P2 does not just benefit the environment, even though whenever we are talking about pollution prevention, that comes to the mind first, but it has far-reaching impacts that extend to multiple areas. Let's briefly look at three key beneficiaries. The first one is corporate benefits. For companies, adopting P2 practices can lead to significant financial savings through more efficient resource use, reduced waste disposal costs, and lower compliance expenses. Additionally, companies that embrace P2 often see an enhancement in their reputation, as consumers and investors increasingly favor businesses that demonstrate environmental responsibility. Next, we have community health. So P2 also has a direct and positive impact on community health by reducing pollutants in the air, water, and soil. P2 practices contribute to cleaner environments in which communities live, work, and play. This leads to lower incidences of pollution-related health issues such as respiratory problems and waterborne diseases. And finally, we have environmental sustainability, which is the cornerstone of P2. And by minimizing waste and pollution at the source, we conserve natural resources and reduce the strain on ecosystem. And this helps ensure the future generations can enjoy a healthy and sustainable environment. Before we dive into the details, let's take a moment to introduce the comprehensive benefits of pollution prevention. P2 can offer a wide range of advantages that extends beyond just environmental impacts, as this includes financial benefits, operational benefits, reputational benefits, insurance and risk management related benefits. So let's start with the financial benefits. First, by reducing the amount of raw materials required, companies can achieve reduced material cost, leading to significant savings. Additionally, minimizing waste generation directly impacts the disposal cost, lowering the expenses associated with waste management. And finally, by implementing efficient P2 practices, companies can streamline their regulatory processes, resulting in lower compliance costs and reducing the administrative burden of meeting environmental regulations. So I have a personal story that highlights these benefits. So when I was a supply planner at a manufacturing company, and I spearheaded an ESG project where we explored the potential of reusing the packaging material of one of our raw materials. As a part of my role, I conducted a scenario analysis comparing the reduced material cost against disposal and compliance cost. This analysis was critical, especially since companies like ours often needed to report on ESG matrix, and such practices can impact factory KPIs. And this project not only aligned our sustainability goals, but also demonstrated tangible financial savings, reinforcing the value of P2 practices. Next, we have operational benefits. So first, by using safer materials and processes, companies can reduce worker exposure to hazardous substances, which is crucial for maintaining a healthy workforce. Secondly, we have P2 practices um, that contribute to improved worker safety by promoting safer workplace practices, which in turn help reduce workplace accidents. And lastly, by lowering the use of hazardous material and reducing emissions, businesses can reduce their risk and liability, minimizing the chances of environmental accidents and the associated legal and financial repercussions. Finally, let's look at the other two benefits. Reputational benefits happens when adopting P2 practices can significantly enhance a company's public image. Businesses that are seen as environmentally responsible often gain a stronger brand recognition and reputation and customer loyalty as well. In today's market, consumers and investors are increasingly favoring companies that demonstrate commitment and shows their interest to sustainability. And implementing P2 practices can also lead to reduced insurance costs by improving safety and lowering the risk of environmental accidents. Companies can reduce their liabilities, which in turn can lead to lower insurance premiums. This is a direct financial benefit that also contributes to overall risk management strategies. Now that we have explored the wide-ranging benefits of pollution prevention, let's shift our focus on how you or we can build a robust P2 program within our organization. So achieving these benefits aren't accidental, and it requires a deliberate and strategic approach. So first and foremost, top management commitment is crucial. Without the active support and leadership from top management, even the best P2 initiatives can struggle to gain traction. Leadership needs to set the tone and allocate necessary resources for the program's success. Next, having a P2 champion within your organization can make a significant difference. This is someone who is passionate about sustainability and can drive P2 efforts, rallying others to the cause and ensuring that initiatives are implemented effectively. Next is waste tracking and cost allocation, which is another essential step. Understanding where waste is generated and the associated cost is critical for identifying areas where P2 can have most impact. This is data-driven approach, which allows for more targeted and effective interventions. Next, which one is equally important, is employee involvement and training. Engaging employees at all levels ensures that everyone understands the role they play in pollution prevention. Regular training and involvement opportunities can empower staff to contribute ideas and take ownership of P2 practices. And recurring waste minimization assessment help keep the program on track and ensure continuous improvement. Regularly assessing these waste streams and looking for opportunities to minimize waste ensures that the program remains dynamic and responsive to the new challenges. And finally, we have technology transfer and cross-feed, which is vital for sharing successful strategies across different departments or the facilities. By learning from what works in one area and what doesn't, and applying it elsewhere, the entire organization can benefit from collective knowledge and experience. And by following these steps, your organization can build a P2 program that not only delivers environmental and financial benefit, but also fosters a culture of sustainability and continuous improvement. So to ensure that your pollution prevention program is effective, it's crucial to track and measure the key matrices regularly. The primary key metric to focus on include waste reduction. So this is what gives insight into how much less waste is being generated, and cost savings, which reflects the financial benefits of implementing P2 practices, and finally, compliance rates, which show how well your company is adhering to environmental regulations. And tracking these matrices is not just about collecting data, it's about using the data to refine and improve your P2 strategies over time. And regular tracking allows you to identify what's working and what isn't, and where adjustment can be made to maximize the benefits of your P2 effort. As we have discussed the steps and benefits of pollution prevention, it's important to understand the legal framework that supports these efforts. Various laws and policies not only mandate compliance with environmental regulations, but also provide support for businesses adopting P2 practices. On one hand, we have compliance requirements. These are legal obligations and that the companies must meet to avoid penalties and fines. And on the other hand, there is support for businesses adopting P2. And many government and agencies offer incentives, grants, and technical assistance to encourage businesses to implement P2 strategies. Compliance with environmental regulations is a critical component of pollution prevention. Businesses in sectors like chemical manufacturing and automotive maintenance are required to adhere to strict state and federal regulations to ensure they are managing pollutants effectively. One key aspect is pollution prevention planning and reporting. For example, facilities that handle hazardous material and waste must regularly report their waste management practices to comply with the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, which is known as RCRA, and relevant state laws. This ensures that waste is managed safely and in accordance with legal standards. Additionally, there is another regulation which is particularly relevant for West Virginia, which is the Above Ground Storage Tank Act, which requires facilities to submit a spill prevention plans and undergo certified inspections. This is particularly important for prevention of water contamination, as it ensures the storage tanks are properly maintained and any potential leaks are quickly addressed. Another critical aspect of compliance in pollution prevention is adhering to air quality standards. The Division of Air Quality enforces both state and federal air quality regulations to ensure that businesses are controlling their emissions responsibly. Businesses that emit pollutants are required to obtain permits that specify their emission limits. These permits are not just a formality, they come with strict conditions and are often subjected to compliance reviews and inspections to ensure that the businesses are meeting these required standards. In addition to these compliance requirements, there is a significant support available for businesses looking to adopt pollution prevention practices. One of the key resources is technical assistance programs for small and medium-sized businesses. Various pollution prevention program offers free assistance, including on-site assessments, workshops, detailed reports, and many more services. These services help businesses to reduce their energy use, minimize waste, and improve overall efficiency, making it easier for them to adopt sustainable practices without bearing the cost burden. And I am excited to share that WVU P2 program has the funding specifically to assist businesses in these NEAs I have talked about. This means that we can offer free assessments to identify areas for improvements and provide recommendations at no cost to the businesses. This support is fantastic opportunities for companies to enhance their sustainability efforts while benefiting from expert guidance and resources from our team. So to help you navigate with specific laws and regulations that apply to your particular business, sector, I have provided direct links and QR codes that lead to EPA's website, where you can find detailed information on regulations organized by business sectors and by topics. This resource allows you to easily check the compliance requirements relevant to your particular industry. Now, to underscore the importance of complying with pollution prevention laws and regulations, let me share a recent enforcement case. The manager of Reliance Laboratories was charged with lying about testing public water. This individual falsified data regarding water safety tests, leading to serious legal consequences. As a result, the manager now faces up to 5 years in prison and a fine up to $250,000. This case highlights how critical it is to adhere to environmental regulations and the severe penalties for those who attempt to circumvent the laws. It serves as a strong reminder that honest and accurate reporting is not only a legal requirement, but also essential for protecting public health and environment and also public image. Now that we have discussed the critical roles of regulations and compliance, let's transition into exploring some of the tools available on the EPA's website that can be used to comply with different regulations and also to excel in the pollution prevention efforts. So the first is P2 calculators. These calculators are essential for accurately estimating the environmental and economic impacts of pollution prevention actions. For example, the P2 cost calculator helps quantify cost savings from reduced energy, water, and waste treatment costs. The P2 greenhouse gas calculator estimates emission reductions from various conservation and substitution efforts, translating them into financial savings. Finally, the P2 calculator for reductions in hazardous substances focuses on converting reduction in hazardous material use into measurable units, providing a clearer picture of the benefits of P2 practices. Next is the TRI pollution prevention tool. So this tool is an invaluable resource for those looking to dive deeper into industrial management of toxic chemicals. It allows users to track the release and handling of hazardous substances by various facilities, giving a comprehensive view of how these practices affect both human health and environment. This tool is particularly useful for advanced analysis and helps inform strategies to reduce the release of harmful chemicals into the environment. Continuing with the exploration of EPA tools, the green chemistry tools provide resources that help businesses develop safer chemicals and processes. These tools are essential for companies looking to innovate in ways that are not only more environmental friendly, but also safer for the consumers and the workers. Next, we have a safer choice standard criteria guides for the businesses in formulating products with safer chemical ingredients. So we have recently conducted a webinar on safer choice, which will be available on our website in few days. So that is going to be another good resource to have a more clear idea on this safer choice. And by adhering to these standards of safer choices, companies can produce goods that are less harmful to human health and the environment, which also enhances their marketing appeal. And lastly, the Energy Star Portfolio Manager. This is a tool that helps businesses track energy and water consumption, as well as greenhouse gas emissions across their entire building portfolio. This tool is critical for the companies that aim to reduce their operational cost while improving environmental performances. And in wrapping up today's session, let's quickly recap the key takeaways. We have seen how pollution prevention is vital for reducing environmental impact while offering significant benefits to the businesses and the communities. We have also explored the tools available to help you implement and enhance your P2 strategies effectively. As we move forward, I encourage you all to take these insights and resources back to your organization and start or strengthen your P2 initiatives and commit to continuous improvement. And remember, prevention of pollution at the source is the most effective way to ensure a sustainable future. And thank you all for your attention and the commitment to making a positive difference